Blessings, welcome forward to Reasonings Right to the True Life. I'm your host, Talaku the Great Owl, and I want to welcome you forward, again into 2026 because these videos we do them less and less. So, it's always good to remind myself that it's actually 2026. And, people have been asking me to, continue to do some YouTube videos, because obviously I've been concentrating more on the music. And it seems like, people want to hear what I think about things, hallelujah, which is so strange because even though Sila Media got a lot of following, this channel has not. So I previously thought that means that people aren't really interested in too much of the things that are outside of the regular norm of what information is presented as, especially when you say you're presenting information that is faith-based, you know what I mean? People always believe for you say faith-based, I'm Yahshua Mashiach, you're absolutely talking about Bible in every way, shape, and form. And so I think they have not taken on to this channel. But I don't really too concerned about that. I'm just surprised that they were saying, hey, we want more videos. And so here I am. And as always, there's something interesting I have to say. Normally I don't do paperwork, but today I got paper. It's not because my mind is slow. It's because I have a couple of bullet points. And also the fact is, I've grown a little in a lot of what I've been studying, even though I've been studying it for years. And I don't want to misrepresent some of the points. So I kind of want to have the bullet points down so I don't misrepresent. Because I know the presentation of information is very important. So my topic is, since I've gone through my preamble, is white supremacy. Yeah, I said it. White supremacy. The elephant in the room. Yeah. So welcome once again to Reasonings Right at the True Life. I'm your host, Talaku, the Great Owl. And my current topic has been something that I think has been coming in my spirit, or forwarding in my spirit for a very, very long time. And I think I've tried during the Sela Media times to do videos that were more concerned about this dichotomy about white supremacy and racism as an institution. And I did kinematic masters of deception, and I did I think a series about the kinematic masters, right? And I think some of those videos for this channel did get some good views relative to the channel, and I think a lot of the information probably was too heavy. But I was a person that I tried to just give you all of my research because I am researching. I'm not a fellow at a university. I'm not a part of a think tank. I don't make hand signs. I mean, I'm not part of no lodge or hallelujah, any of those organizations. Just to make it clear, I'm not a part of any of those. So when I collect this information, I'm not the kind of, what they call it, ambitious person who's thinking, oh, great, are you going to do a book about your understanding of anthropology, history, religion, culture? No, not really. I have no friends, no links, no connections. They have stayed clear of me. Just let me get that through your head. The only association I've had through the Sela Media vibe was Wizio, which is a company in Israel, of all places. Can you imagine? So nobody else has ever come forward really economically to collaborate with me. So I am 100% sure the tenets I'm expressing here in my research about white supremacy are just racism, right? The elephant in the room is factual, actual information that has manifested as a lot of the issues that have happened in my own life. That's why I have such strong connections to it. It's not just something I'm researching. The research showed me to look at myself, look at my own experience. So, first of all, when I was studying to find information about like what had happened to us as a people, I got a lot of like the John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Ben Buchanan, right? Anthony Broadbent. I got those personalities. I even met Anthony Broadbent. We did a conference together many years ago at University of Technology in Jamaica, right? I was very much interested in the direction of what the information. And Mutabaruch on the radio would be the person from the 90s here in Jamaica that I would have been listening to hear any kind of other information outside of the norm of what Christendom had put on the airwaves, right? So learning through those people, I began to realize in correlation with what I had already known as a person growing up. For those who watch my documentary on this channel or on Sila Media, you would know that I already had a vast knowledge growing up ancestrally, hallelujah, of the whole essence and practice and presence of my people. So when I started reading Ivan Van Sertima, watching his lectures, John Henry Clark, Ben Buchanan, obviously it brought correlation and depth of understanding. I read the books of Chikan to Diop, and I found out deep anthropology about presence of the Aboriginal people, and that kind of gave me a strength to say, okay, this is direction. But when I found a lot more of what I would say the Moorish information and started studying jurisprudence and law, I think the essence of white supremacy piqued in my interest, hallelujah, a whole lot more than it had. And so then, as I studied that form of information, I moved from the African-centric information forward to the Aboriginal information, where I was far more interested to find my place here in the Americas than I was in some ideological Africa, So here it is. I started listening to Neely Fuller. We say Dr. Neely Fuller. I'm not sure if it's an honorary doctorate. And pardon me if I am not sure if it's an honorary doctorate, but I'm sure he wasn't a doctor in a university. He wasn't scientifically clinical anyway. So when he says Dr. Fuller, it's like people would have said we put a doctorate on him because, they say we love titles. And he explains that in his book. No, I said I would have proper titles, but because I'm a kind of person that intrinsically, I want you to go search for yourself. So I just give you the base information as clear as I can, and then you do the search. Or you can do it several times, called research. Anyway, so Neely Fuller created a workbook, right, on white supremacy or just racism, as per his experience in America, and expanded it to anywhere black people are in the world. Because he's not clinical, he's not in any university, but his research, being a person that worked at I think it's the engraving office, he was on a security guard there, and I think one of the archives in the state, but he was a World War, a Korean War veteran, right? And so his observation, though I would say very much researched and studied and observed on the scientific methodology, he wasn't a fellow, he wasn't a graduate of any university, so he didn't have a degree in any of this. But, Dr. Cress Welsing, Frances Cress Welsing, which is actually clinical psychologist, and she's a professor, and she's held positions, at Hunts College and so forth. Again, correct me if some of the information is incorrect, but I know she's an actual scientist. And she created a genetic theory that backs up Neely Fuller's research and assessment and his presentation and his workbook on victims of racism, which is white supremacy. And so my topic, white supremacy, the elephant in the room, begins with Dr. Neely Fuller's presentation on racism. It's a tenet of this argument, and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing will back up the argument genetically. So, bam, here's the start. So growing up as a black man, that's what I called myself at that time, because we're black men, black man, black boy. You're a black boy, you're not a black man, you're a boy. They enforce that. I watch the television, I watch all these things. You are a boy. You're not a man. You're not allowed to be a man, right? The effeminization of so-called black males or the Aboriginal males on the television screen, paramount to what was being inculcated in me. So I was a person who, they said I was a soft black male. I wasn't rough enough, aggressive enough, or tough enough, because they preach this violence onto our character and to our nature. We're supposed to be violent and without value, right? Because defining us as 3/5 human over time, clinically and intellectually, in terms of academically, it's a part of the pedagogy, we're not human. And so when white supremacy classed us as non-humans, so they could then assuage their fears of genetic annihilation, according to Dr. Cress Welsing, they basically are afraid of the sperm of the so-called black male, the Aboriginal male, hallelujah, because it's potential genetically to annihilate the condition called whiteness. which wasn't even officially recognized until the 1800s. But the people who carried the light skin and the philosophy existed for thousands of years, let's just be clear. However, the fear of losing that specific niche of existence, which is just light skin and blue eyes, which is a genetic recessive trait, which is provable and actual, genetic fear of genetic annihilation spawned racism as a means to survive, because remember, they are the smallest, they're a minority amongst the earth population, and don't you ever be confused to think whites are the majority. It's just all propaganda. Whites make up less than 13%, hallelujah, of the earth's population, and they reproduce at the smallest or the slowest rate. So they have to, by the system of white supremacy, kill, murder, maim, destroy all non-whites across the world. Here is Neely Fuller's presentation in a basic sense that white supremacy operates on 9 fundamental structures that basically encompasses all of our lives as so-called black man and woman. Those 9 areas are economics, education, entertainment, sex, labor, law, politics, religion, and war. And inadvertently, for all of my years on Sela Media on here, I've been reasoning about the effects of this system on us in all those terms. So let's look at the first one, economics. That's why I said I got bullet point. And the economic strain upon the Aboriginal man, the so-called black man and woman, it's been the destruction of our family, the fact that we were, destroyed as a nation, a couple hundred years ago by the advance of white supremacy in terms of the Roman Empire, which then transposed into the British Empire. That basically is all European under papal bull and edicts from Castile and Leon, right? Basically went across all of the Americas and started destroying our societies. And when they were finished, they went to North Africa and all over Africa and destroyed the rest of our societies there. So basically, they put us, the people of dark skin, who were the majority of people and still are upon the planet, right, under subjugation, subhuman conditions, right, subjugated us completely onto non-humans, right? And all of these things happened after the fall of the Moorish Empire in 1491 in Granada, Spain, right? Where basically the Moorish Empire, through a very, I would say, progressive movement of white supremacy and white extremism in black Europe at the time, Moorish Europe at the time, overcame the Moorish Empire and carried over. And so, the rise of Castile and Leon, Ferdinand and Isabel, and Fernando Zarco, what we call Christopher Colon, basically was given under edict the power with a lot of other so-called nobles to basically expropriate and claim the land of the now defeated Moorish Empire. And Moorish Empire had a lot of us here under vassal states. It's to say that, their ideology, their philosophies, their trading routes, through Mali over the years, throughout for Peru, the Magellan routes, all the way here into Cuba to Jamaica for centuries and hundreds of years before the Europeans, kind of, when they fell, left us open, hallelujah, to these European invasion through Christopher Colon, Fernando Zarco, and the papacy to basically come and take our lands and take our sovereign right. Now, we are grown and groomed under their tutelage, because after they took all of our sovereign rights, we become enslaved. And that's the first loss of economic right, because we're no longer sovereign and our properties were taken. So all of us instantly become poor. Then they classified us and constantly reclassified us to make sure that the skin color of black remains suppressed, oppressed, and reduced, because the dominance of our genes reduces their genes, because they can't come together and produce black. But black can come together with any color and reproduce that color. We are the master of the spectrum. The melanocytes of ours are the power of nature. However, through this subjugation, masterminded by economic manipulation, backed by war, because it's the last one, because their armaments, their militia, is there to bring violence on all non-whites so as to promote the further continuation of the white empire, identity, and quality of life. In America, it is mentioned as white privilege, because they do realize if you grow up amongst these Caucasides, right, you will definitely never be equal, no matter what you think. And so, under the economic oppression, it causes impoverishment because now your entire sovereignty is taken away, and because of your threat to their empire, you are weakened, debilitated, and removed of your strength because a strong man will fight, but a weak man is a boy. And so, because of the impoverishment, the destruction of our family structures, no woman is going to be loyal to a man, yeah, that cannot provide for her or their offspring, and even more, can protect her and her offspring. So, like I said, I'm a victim of white supremacy, and I shout that from the top of my voice because I used to play egotistic, and when I was losing relationship after relationship, I always examined my character and thought I was the bad person. When I didn't think I was the bad person, I said the woman is the bad person. I constantly said that back and forth until I recognized that there was a pattern, and I had to admit the pattern starts with money. It's economics. And here's the problem. People are going to ask, so brother, so why are you not economically viable? Here's the issue. So when I was younger, all the knowledge I had drove me away from following the economic structure because I saw the hypocrisy within the economic structure. However, I took control of my education, so I got very educated, almost too educated in the wrong things. I wasn't interested in being a functionary of their system because I was driven under my spirituality to be educated for the purpose of edifying my family, my people, hallelujah, my nation. It might sound like a cliche, hallelujah, but it's not. It's the actuality. And so because of that, from very early on, I wasn't getting the signals the system was sending me. What are the signals? You are a servant. Stop thinking that you should matter. Look at everyone around you. All the other people got the memo. We are all coming to be servants, to serve the elite class of which you're not. You're all servants. I refused it because I have ideas, I have concepts. I thought I was going to be a business person. I thought I was going to have an impact in my society. Boy, was I wrong. I thought I, with knowledge and wisdom and all the interest from that stage towards this, would have been understood or appreciated. When I was in high school, trying to show my educators that they had faulty, hallelujah, information, I constantly was sent to the principal office as a disruptor. So eventually I had to leave that system. I had to come out of the classes and go to the library to study the reference information because what they put in the books that they gave us as workbooks was like conceptual. It was connotation, not denoted information. So the denoted information that was actual was most likely in the reference books most times, and the connotative stuff, connotative linguistic, the way they teach us to look at ourselves without actual truth, that was everywhere. And I refused that. And when they came and said, listen, they posted my timetable in the library and tell the librarian that Jerome's supposed to be in class at this time, so if he's here, we're going to charge you. And after all of that, I had to leave that school and went to the parish library. So I'm saying I destroy my economic viability by basically trying to find hallelujah myself. And you might say, but you're strong and able. Every time I was on this journey and all the people I met, I instantly found out something that was always proven to be true. I, by nature, was not accepted, hallelujah, by them. And you see this thing here called dreadlocks and this skin tone here, when these two correlate in our culture, it's one of the most dangerous things you could ever do to yourself. So when I reached 19, 20 and I was veering off the Christian path of what I was programmed with, because religion is another one of their tools, right? I was pushing a particular direction, and I started finding that the more clarity I had, the more people that looked like this I was around, and the less I was around the hypocrites in the church system. Because later on, we come to find out that right here in Jamaica, the churches have billions of dollars, yet still they're always out there parading as if they're broke. And so, what is the point? The point is this: where is the organizations that the church own that is actually economically impacting the community? There's so much churches in our society, but there are no work programs. Yeah, there are no farms. Yeah, and if they do own things, it's off the books. They lie about it. Yes, I said it. They lie about it. Right? When there was the financial crash in America, the black churches, they suffered great losses because they invested in all these Ponzi schemes and all these hedge funds like everybody else. Their interest was not about the community. Their interest was not increasing the lot of the people or their parishioner. Their interest was to expropriate their property into the church like they did in the Roman times, like they did always under economic manipulation. They impoverish those they consider their enemy. And it just so happens that this boy here, right, were thinking like the enemy. I thought about respect of my own people, I thought about kindness and love towards another human being. I thought women were treasures to be protected and loved and cared for. Boy, did they spit in my face for that, right? And I mean the women, right? So, hallelujah. I'm telling you, I've been beaten, battered, and abused for one simple thing. I'm respectful, I'm kind. And when I wasn't respectful and kind, I got the most attention. I got the most girl when I smelt bad. I'm telling you the truth. When I had depression, I had the most sexual encounter with women. Let me say that again. When I was depressed, I had the most sexual encounter with women. I smelt bad. I hadn't eaten sometime for days, wandering around the street. No, I wasn't a homeless person. I was an artist, yeah? Wandering around from show to show, weeks away from home. I had the most sexual encounter. Smelled bad. You understand me? Look raggedy. You know, whole boot on my feet. Since I've come to a deeper, clearer understanding, I've had the least sexual experiences. I can tell you that. Since I speak about love and truth and understanding and Christ and all, at least I'm on the sexual experiences. Not just because my morality has improved. No, it's because I'm literally like looked at as like I don't exist. People look from afar off and talk about, oh, he's handsome. But it's not as it was before. Before, nobody debated that. They never did. They just came and showed favor and we got it on. And I smelled bad. So I'm saying these things for a reason. Once they destroy the economic viability of the black man, you're a boy. And no boy is going to threaten the white master. So when you have a mind like my own and a spirituality and understanding, we are the greatest, hallelujah, target. That's why I became such a victim. And my own black brothers, they increased the warfare against me. They keep saying, every time I would have a conversation with one of their mates, as a woman, they would say, we're in a relationship. They'll treat me so bad because I happen to look like something that maybe they wanted to look like, or think they should look like, but they didn't know what the hell I was going through. So everywhere I went and opened my mouth and spoke about the disparities I saw, the system smashed me down, because the next level is the education. They miseducate us. They teach us all manner of crap about ourselves. So when you are reasoning with people who are taught this crap about information that they do not have, or critical analysis skills that they have not been taught, well, it's warfare. So just the way you speak creates an issue. So I spoke too much English. I wasn't niggerish Jamaican enough. So that caused a problem. Entertainment wise too, I didn't get a lot of the music at the time when I was growing up. I didn't go to the dance hall, yeah. I didn't grow up into that socialization, but talked about misogyny and all manner of disrespect, right? It was so sexual, so away from the morality that I got trained in the church. But the women love the dudes and the man them who were at these parties, right? And so you find that sex is used as a tool to reproduce offspring for the system. It is simply that. Where in our case is concerned, because we're not reproducing as family. We are reproducing to make a quota for the system that needs bodies to labor. Just like in slavery, they bred us under husbandry law. That's what they call breeding animals, husbandry. Animal husbandry, you should learn about these things for real, right? And you should learn about how they reproduced us, right? So we weren't in this generation. A lot of us who are so proud, we're so proud. We came from a lot of misogyny and broken ancestral lines of relationship. First started in this age by the white man and woman on the plantation that bred us as cattle and as animals, yeah, for production. So you talk about that. So you go and avoid the elephant in the room and talk about every time something go wrong in your life as a man. You talk about, when a woman is convinced because she didn't give you no vagina, you convince yourself because she's going to offer you some to beat yourself down, to talk about how much wrongs you have done. You're not looking at her character, that she's morally corrupt, right? And morally inept, right? You're not looking at that. You're not looking at the fact that her lack of loyalty, yeah, signals distrust, but you're accepting it because you're a boy. I'm a boy. Man. You accept her with many men because you can't pay her bills. You know she ain't gonna respect you for being unable to pay her bills. And when you bring a few dollars this month and think you're special, well, she's praising the guy who's bringing the money all the time. Well, that's one of the consequences of white supremacy. We aren't men. They destroy our family. They destroy our relationships, right? So we are reproduced for the sake of production on the line. So when you want to keep a relationship and be a man in your own home, look and see what happens. Cats away, the mouse will play. There's some niggas, some dudes across the road, watching your wife day and night, watching your young teenage daughter day and night. They got a system set up to destroy us, right? And every man is not going to be like me and say, well, Jerome, this could have happened, but I stood up and, every man is not going to be like me and say, well, I'm a victim, because you're going to believe you're not. You're going to believe the lie. You're going to look down on your other brothers and sisters and say that they're lazy and inept and corrupt, right? Not recognizing that it's a system that's suppressing us. And you gave up a lot of your dignity to have that corporate job. And you know that. You gave up a lot of your honor. And one of the things I'm sure you gave up was appreciation of the people in your community. Yeah, I appreciate the people in my community, not because of a moral clause, I can tell you that. Not because they do right by me. I appreciate them because I do know they're in the same conditions as me. And I don't mean they're poor like me. I mean they're black, so-called, like myself. And no matter how you think you're rich, ask all these powerful American guys. Yeah, they can tell you of how their riches have been met squarely across the world with racism. Michael B. Jordan, right? And Mr. Delroy Lindo can tell you, right? Remember what they call them at the BAFTAs? They do this all the time. You can go and you can name any celebrity. I'm not going to make this about celebrities. I'm just saying you can name any black so-called celebrity and see how they have destroyed their families or they have brought them down. But they gave us the Cosby Show, both in America and Jamaica, as the ideal. So when you are the ideal and you play by the ideal rules, you will matriculate into the servitude system, right? And you'll be a good old church boy or a good old church nigga, and you will survive. Yeah, denying everything about racial superiority complex that they put you into. An inferiority complex, rather, and put themselves in the superiority complex. So, in law and politics, because obviously, because we don't have economic freedom, we're not educated properly, we are breeding up and reproducing at an exponential rate without proper structure to the family. So that means that all manner of wickedness is going to happen. Robbing from each other, killing from each other, and therefore the law comes in. There's always some lawyer and a social worker to split and divide your family. Right? Section 8 housing started that crap in the 60s in America, right? Up until 1965, there was no law to even educate young black boys and girls. They were still working under sharecropping, and I said 65. I did. On the plantations in certain parts of the South. And so that leads to a whole lot of psychological problems. They know you're going to become criminals because they created a criminal economy around your behavior. So now you have lawyers that will be fed, judges will be fed, social worker will be fed from the problems between you and your woman, from the problems between you and your woman and your kid, from the problem between you and the other men and virgins up the street and other black folks, so-called black folks like yourself. They know they created an industry that give opulent, middle-class white boys and girls the opportunity to become wealthy and famous off our criminal activity, which is a design system. Boom! Another one of the elephant in the room. And then politics. They got us so divided, fearing crime. You're afraid of your own kind. All of that, no. So they sell this ideology of these divisions based upon constituency until it's based in constitutional law and all this thing about we being self-determined and marker X, which is a sign that you're nobody really, but then give your representative right to somebody which you call a representative, the member of parliament and the representative house of government. All a matter of mind games and trick and a no more taxes, law and edict from the king. It's all designed to live off your backs. So here you are, you can't see your son or your daughter, but through a cage and a metal fence. So you're an animal. Boy, you're an animal. And you're going to act like an even greater animal against other black males like yourself, right? Because you're going to compete for the attention of the female and for the right to reproduce, because they pit us against ourselves in that regard. And so educated, soft-spoken man, no get respect, you have to be vicious and dangerous, right? Because the woman wants signs of masculinity. And violent, destructive behavior are the signs of masculinity amongst our so-called black males. So we'll go through all of this hassle, right? And they know that you're going to need a lawyer. Your kid's going to need a social worker. You're going to need this. And the prison system is designed just like the education system. It's got prisoners. It's got wardens. Or you want on gamekeepers, the same thing, right? Just like a game reserve. And you got these teachers who are the game wardens, which are the wardens, trying to curl black behavior into the functional hypocrites that we become. which is that we are boys and girls. We're not man and woman. We are here for the servitude of our master. So psychologically, the black woman's man is her boss, which is the white male, right? And the black man's boss is the white male. No matter you see all these successful rappers and singers, I'm talking the truth. So hate me for it. It's just the truth. It's called the elephant in the room. All of these black men, I'm not gonna call their names. I'm nobody, and I know they don't care about me. So I'm not gonna call their names. Why? Because I have integrity. You can look for yourself and see them. The biggest of the biggest names in this business is a white man bigger than them. And he walks around in tall socks and short pants and raggedy t-shirt. But he owns everything that you can see with your eyes and survey. You think that's accidental? And so their kids are going to be the ones defending you that don't understand your life and pretend like their lives have nothing to do with your life, that their privilege has nothing to do with the lack of privilege that you have and the lack of access, when they are the ones that educate you into the numbskulls that we are. And then when you actively break out of their numbskull programming, they just block you out. Oh, you're not qualified. You're not certified. And it's obvious to everybody that you're highly intellectual. But here's the other side. You know, people go through the system like Frances Cress Welsing, and she was fired from her job for speaking about this, right? So it took Neely Fuller to write about the 9 areas of manipulation, right? We're at politics, right? They come and try to sell you that you're better than your own kin down in that community because they're unprogressive who wants to tend to violence, and you're a middle class black acting white, and white is the standard. You speak in proper lingo and language, and you know the etymology of things accordingly. That's what they was trying to suggest, but it's not true, but it's just like you think it is. And you speak with a certain chip on your shoulder or an air of appearance. I can mimic such persons. I used to do it as an actor, you know. You know, the quality of Jamaican life is such an amazing thing. You know, I would like to tell you of the dichotomies within our culture. You know, we're such a fine breed of West African, and that intermixing of the European elk, a certain quality of that Britishness, you know, the Scottishness, and it is replete within our culture. You know, Jamaica is a cacophony of this melting pot of these awesome cultures, the spices and seasoning of their familial that is so awesome. This is Jamaica. I used to listen to people speaking like this on the radio. And, you know, welcome to once again to, and this is brought to you by, always brought to you by. So the businesses sponsor our destruction. They sponsor the politician, which spins the narrative. They sponsor the pastors, who spin the narrative, and we come to religion. Yes, so when you're angry at the system and claim that you're not properly educated and claim that you're suppressed, well, they give you Jesus Christ, they give you God, they give you white Jesus to supplant your rage and your suffering, right? The same structure that has so much money but has no work programs of any repute, of any civil structure that designed to help their parishioners or just the members of the community. But we're given a religion where God is going to set right. But for generations, all we see getting richer and richer are the white men. And we say, but Jerome, I've seen black men get rich. What are those signs that they're making? What are those hand signs that they're making? They say they're Jesus people, they say them Rasta people, they say them are Christian people, them say they're all manner of people. They're making Ramed signs, all this sigil magic. What does this sigil magic have to do with servant of the Most High God? Hallelujah. I would like to know why I need to send a show an unsign to get viewership. I would like to know why I need to show an unsign for people to listen to me. So here's the hypocrisy now. These religious people come and tell you, and they want to step over into our domain and speak about, oh, the word of the Lord thy God and Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And they won't say Yeshua. They won't say Yehoshua. But they always talk about Jesus. And these people, right, know full well the narrative that they're spinning and respinning to us, knowing that the image that they're inculcating in our mind is of servitude, hallelujah, to white imperialism, white supremacy. And they'll come and tell you, but it's God they're speaking about. And they will never share with no one. Their kids go to private schools, private universities, and are educated in the ilks of European ways. And they come on there and talk about Jesus Christ of Nazareth and sing to death about justice, the elephant in the room. The white man is their master, just like the Bible was chained up on the pulpit during slavery times. And anytime the pastor, the overseer called pastor, would try to speak to the parishioner in any way that the white master didn't have, he would close the book, hallelujah. I throw the book at you, literally, to remind you that you're a servant. So my point was, no matter how much money some of these rich, wealthy so-called black men are, there's a master to them, and they can't speak about the true issues. And when they even do anything for the community, a lot of times they have to hide and do it if it's genuinely for the community. When it's all public, it's just a publicity hallelujah campaign. It's all for popularity. It's all for likes. So warfare is the next one. They're always constantly running warfare on us because they're always trying to depopulate us. Impoverishment, all of the conflicts within families, the destruction of the Aboriginal family, the so-called black family, the destruction of the black community, black businesses, black means of economic growth. All of those come under warfare. The fact that the police genocide several hundreds, even thousands, up to millions of black men every year across the entire earth. It's not just a system that is operating in America, it's across all the earth. It's a stratification of the laws of economics, education, entertainment, sex, law, politics, religion, warfare, labor. Yeah. Because if you don't follow their structures, you won't work. You won't be able to earn. And if you don't follow their structures, you'll have no place. And the fact, what we call the cost of living, they're always going to keep the prices higher than your wages or your ability to pay. It's another part of the warfare. So at all times, the woman cannot remain sacrosanct and true to her partner because it takes $100,000 to take care of the family household for the month. Her husband makes 60. She gotta make up the shortfall. She makes 40. And you say, yeah, that is it. But then you keep realizing that she ain't making 40. It was said to be 40. It was said that he would make 60. And then you realize it keeps going down because everything else keeps going up. So even if it says 60 on the books and she's earning 40, what you realize, cost of living is 130 every month, right? It's always switching. It's always changing, right? So let's just say, he's earning 50, right? And she's earning 30. And it needs to be 100,000 for the upkeep of the month. She's gonna make up the shortfall somewhere. Sometimes that's where a second, what them call Joe comes in. Joe Grind is in Jamaica, or another man, right? This is how it happens. She has to catch him because she needs to make up that shortfall. Yeah. And when a man loses his job, especially a so-called black man loses his job, look at how fast the family capitulates after, how fast he loses his family, how quick his kids are now becoming somebody else's stepkids, right? And the same thing they talk about, oh, when the nerds are young, how the hot girls ignore them, and when they grow older now, oh, the hot girls love them. Ah, it's nothing like that. It's not just because she's broken and battered as well too, and no longer desires the thugs, the studs, and all of that. No, it's not that. It's because if the nerd is true to the education, he would actually make some dough. And her thug boyfriend, baby father, because of how he's so masculine and is, trying to survive as a man, he don't want TikTok from nobody. So he probably lost his job because he punched a boss in the face or he was on TikTok. Right? Women love that, she's attracted to that. But the fact is he can't pay no bills. And so, Mr. Nerd, you become a victim, hallelujah, of that, thinking that you are meeting a wife and you're just an economic source. So they destroy our family. And then, of course, they take young black men, put them in the army, and put them on the front lines. This always happened, right? So that's another form of the warfare. So straight from the economic, the education, they mess up our minds. Entertainment, but you know what they're singing on the tracks, right? I'm not saying that to sing about love or sex or anything or all that is a problem. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is look how they sing about love. Look how they sing about sex. Look how they sing about money. Look how they sing about hatred and jealousy and warfare. Look how they sing about those things. Those things exist, but look how they sing about it. They inculcate it. They inculcate bad sexual practices and behaviors, distrust amongst men and women. Yeah, they increase the feminist and the machoist view that think that this is who we are as man and woman, right? So we are constantly battling this white supremacist view, right? Based upon their fear of genetic annihilation, right? They don't like the black woman and they don't like the black male. That is, hallelujah, it. But we believe when we find one or two white folks who are willing to be anti-systematic that we think we've found a jewel. The real anti-whites amongst white people, they will suffer too, the white oppression. They will. And it is because of suffering the white oppression why you should ever trust them. Not because they come ideologically correct. And I have no qualms about it. The master of this domain is the white man. And I know a lot of black men is going to get upset, but it's just the way it is. right? And it might sound, oh, he's so defeated. Well, I'm telling you the truth. So when I'm hungry and I'm starving, I don't see no strength from no one to stand and say, hey, with me. I give thanks for the Caribbean folks and the Jamaican and the Caribbean people. They help. They help their own. And it's interesting that out of white racist America, that's who they're trying to push out. Our fellow brothers and sisters who have been there, gone there for a reason, because you destroy our economic viability in our homelands. We have to go to these places. We have to travel all across the world. Jamaicans and Caribbeans and black so-called people all across the world have to leave their families, their loved ones, and go serve in the least capacity just to put food on the table. And all cultures, even other non-white cultures, accept that it is the way it should be for us. So our pain and suffering is reinforced by the other non-whites, not just the whites. So just for a moment, look at the dilemma we are under. Just look at the dilemma we are truly under. So the elephant in the room suppresses us at every angle. And the angry black female and the angry black male becomes the martyrs of a system without value. So constantly, every year, in these communities that we live, hundreds and thousands of our fellow kin will die just because of the structures of white supremacy and racism that is institutional. It's not just talking about, oh, I hate you because your skin color is black. No, it's a system designed to suppress you, to rob you just because you are born into the kin with black skin, dark skin, brown skin, yellow skin, red skin. And this classification of whiteness and its supremacy system throughout all of the cultures until now, since we lost our way, have maintained that. That's what they maintain, a white supremacist system. Same thing the past is maintaining. The academic head of your institution is maintaining. Notice I have not mentioned the secret societies too much yet, because now I hope you just, I'm inferring what holds it together. Now you know why they're all making the same signs. Because it's one organization, hallelujah, divided into its 9 constituent parts. And that's why they want me to starve to death. Hey, they want me to die. I don't even care that I like myself that much. I love myself. But I don't care that I like myself that much. And what I say, can you go say he hates himself? No, hear me carefully. I don't care that I like myself that much. The design of what the self is. I don't care that I like it that much, because all it is doing is making me live without self-respect and value. So I don't even deal with self anymore. I deal with just actuality and truth, because self is just a bloody illusion. Because you see, the self that I have is designed, bro. And sis, it's designed. It's battered into me and beaten into me to be a boy, not a man, to be nobody. Because every speech I've made towards somethingness, I get ignored. This algorithm will always ignore this. And it's not just the algorithm, it's out there too. I've seen several artists over all the years that I've been doing this be able to feed and clothe their family. Guess what? I've been unable to. Unable to. All throughout this time. Unable to. Unable to move up 1 inch in economics. If you know me, you know I'm telling the truth. Hallelujah. So I know what white supremacy is. I know that elephant in the room. And I've met many powerful white men and women. None has ever expressed an interest, ever, to help or to improve any of the conditions, hallelujah, around me. But they were always interested to get my penis into their mouth and vagina. Always. Always interested to want to sit in my face. That is what they want to do. And tell me how they're going to suppress me or they're going to freak me. They always want to do that. There's no interest here for the improvement of my life. I didn't know I was such a threat. So remember when I tell you this, I'm not too proud of this self, because I've been turned into an enemy when I never wanted, hallelujah, to be one. I walk on the street, and because of this malevolence amongst our own people, like a poison that's in us, we can't appreciate each other. We can't love each other. So we spew darkness. So I feel alienated from them, and I have to buffer myself. And when you're not in control, you send it back to them, and it all becomes dark. And you're arguing with your girl, and she's arguing with you, and she's cheating on you just because of something you said or something you didn't do, right? Or something you couldn't provide. And then you hear that, well, he's hotter now, and you're not. You're not man enough. You're a boy. These are the tenets of white supremacy, hallelujah, left over. And yes, you're going to have those that tell you, oh, you should work harder and work harder. You must be one of the most self-centered person there is. You think your own personal experience suffices for everybody else? Look around you, bro. Do you know how much other people have worked themselves to death? And the state and the system still came and claimed what they earned, hallelujah, their entire life. What they lost their entire life trying to generate. And their kids are out on the street. All their great legacy is come down to in some white man's private collection. You don't even get, as the children or the grandchildren, to even keep their genes. You even get the honor of being able, yeah, to have one of their bed sheets that's in a museum owned by some white man, some white woman. Come on, people. The elephant in the room is so white and big, and some of us are defeated because we love the good old white man and the white woman. We love their system of feminism and machoism, reducing us to, boys and girls. That we need their authority to do everything. And no matter how much you see some black woman on these networks talking like she has a vast amount of knowledge, look beside her pretty soon, you see the white handler come out and show himself, he'd marry her. Yeah, just an image, right? I control this, The same for the males too. You see their handlers coming out, some standing directly behind them. The Epstein gropers and grabbers, squeezing these black males tightly onto themselves, white males. You see it, hallelujah. You see it. You see that the richest guy that you know that has my skin tone in your community, you see how he walks. You remember when he was young, he didn't walk like that. Man, he can't walk, his ass is falling out. Yeah, for pursuit of wealth, you know the hottest, most beautiful girl that's my skin tone in your community. You know how she smells now, but she's coming out of an expensive vehicle. But she ain't right. You know that. She don't look right, she don't smell right. You see what they do. These cannibals, what they eat and how they eat. You see what they do, right? You know now it's not a joke anymore, right? So we talk about white supremacy and racism now. You understand now it's institutional, right? And you understand that that's why Jesus was Seja Bouzia, right? You understand that's why that image is, right? You don't understand why the smartest black males, so-called, that you know, ain't gone nowhere. And everyone that you know in academia always has an excuse and always has to show an unsign when he's speaking, especially on the social networks and public networks, right? You know that nobody goes national in these major societies of my skin tone unless he's institutionally one of them. You know that, right? And you know he speak against his own people too, hallelujah, most extremely. You know that, right? You know that all these black organizations, the Boule and all them, by different names, with all these so-called black males, these black boys at the top. You know that they're boys, right? You know that they go on and play the little boy games, penile games, games, boys, right? You know that, right? Yeah, they're not men. You know that, right? You know that they're leaning from the ass as well, too, right? Some say they're bi, whatever. You know that, right? You know that, but you should know that. Your favorite this and your favorite that rappers, and you know that, right? You should know that. That's the white man system that no man shall be of my skin complexion. Hallelujah. You better need to find these things out and stop playing around. Yeah. Anyway, I was never gonna be a friend of many. So my towards this, I would say the self-hate is one of the major things that comes out of all of these things. Yeah, as I showed you, I hate that image of self because I don't like it. But it's the image I have to have because it's the only one as close to authentic hallelujah as I can find, because authentic would have been if I grew up in my own culture with my culture of the primacy of honor to decide all things. But since that's not the case and I'm a prisoner of war, well, this self I'm given, I don't like it, right? So I will look at myself as an open-minded, eager, happy, good person willing to work, earn, and generate an income. But no one wants me in their establishment, not in a capacity as a fellow human being, especially if we have different skin color. And the next thing is if we have the same skin color, they don't want this little piece of nothing. I tell them, what to do or what to think. I even have an opinion. Because why would I be telling my boss, hey, what to do? That don't make sense. But even to have an opinion, yeah. And some also think, well, I'm my own boss. You're selling drugs, bro. Come on, they in front on me. I ain't fronting on you, but don't even front on me. You're selling drugs. You're selling guns. You're trafficking in girls and little boys. So don't front on me. And don't hate on me. I'm a poor ass, broke ass nobody saying this to you. So don't front on me. Don't hate on me. I have no titles back on my name. So don't target me for saying what only a poor ass, broke ass nigga like myself is gonna say. Nobody's gonna say it. That's why I'm seeing the elephant in the room. Because I can't escape that elephant. I can't escape that I'm looking at right now, front facing camera, this. Because this has convicted me in this world. I've passed being sad about it, I've passed being angry about it. I study about it. So, what are the codes in counter racism? Well, Neely Fuller and Chris Wilsing explains we have to undo the self hate and the self destructive way of thinking. We have to return the power of the male penile power. Yeah, or 45 we're carrying out between the legs, the black sperm, the black gene. We have to return honor and dignity to the black male for it to return to the black female. They twisted the narrative and tell us that it is the black females, hallelujah, that is under threat. Yeah, but it's not. That's why they're educated the way they are. It's a black male. Black female cannot impose sexual dominance on anybody. So stop being stupid and stop speaking like you're wise. And you ought to know that. Black females, so-called, cannot impose sexual dominance on anyone. See who can impose sexual dominance. Yeah? So stop going like, you like me. You hate me. I'm good looking. I'm educated. And you think I'm after your white vagina. And I'm not. And all of my life, I made that very clear. I'm not saying I've never dated a white woman. How would I know some of their sexual behaviors? How would I know their attitude if you're not careful, them sitting in your face? How do I know that? Right? So let me tell you something of how they divide us. Right? There's a sexual warfare against my penis that's more than 9 inches long. And that is why. And when it fires and it reproduces, it has the power to annihilate the white race completely. So it's not the black female, bro. It's a black male. That's how we're killed at an exponential and alarming rate. So come out of the feminist ideology. I hear man unite. You need to have some sense, bro, and stop that nonsense. That's one of the elephant. So they destroy the men to destroy the woman. And so upon the chessboard, and pan, the chessboard, you have to protect your queen. Who offered it? She gonna protect you? Stop talking nonsense, bro. Stop talking nonsense. You gotta protect your queen, right? How do you protect your queen and your offspring? By protecting yourself. You have to unlearn self-hate. And I can't speak like we're going to get organized strength by finding the other people who think like us. I'm not even going to say that. Not that I don't believe it's possible. I'm just saying that how do we undo by the counter racist code? Well, do not have conversations with fellow Aboriginal so-called black people that are not engaging, meaningful, that you're not exchanging actual beneficial information. Don't sit and debate the gossipy stuff that they put on TikTok and on social media, because that's a design. Conflicts and all of that is part of the violence they want us to dish out amongst ourselves. The distrust, the dishate, all of that disqualifies us from harmonizing together and seeing ourselves with value, because part of our self-image is seeing those who are like us as being valuable helps us to see ourselves as valuable. So if the image presented to us is these people that we see as our black celebrities, so-called, and the rest of them lean, we know that that's why so many generations are becoming misogynistic, confused, lean, all over the place, because these people are out of sorts. Now, the people on TikTok, which is like the regular everyday people that they make into celebrities, they make you a celebrity to gossip against your own people, to be disrespectful and disparaging to your own, right? To promote the violence and distasteful behaviors. Because yeah, you can do that. You can, as a black male, be a woman. You can't be a man. You can act like a girl. You can be feminine. You can do everything. You can snap and pop your ass and finger and face and talk with slurred effects. You can do all of that and become of some value and have some money, right? You can talk about your sexual molestation and all the sexual violence that's come against you. You can do that. You can talk about your sexual preference and unnatural sexual behaviors on all these apps and make some money at it. So they will always reward the dysfunction. So you know me I tell you, say they make we poor, impoverished, Yeah, I mean, it's a broadcast, if you take enough offense. You know, you say, what a man, none has confidence in himself. Oh, please. Would I be making hallelujah these videos? Let me tell you something. You see, honesty, people are trying to fix up things. Stop trying to fix it up. That's what we're talking about, this bloody elephant in the room. Stop trying to fix it up. Women go and pop their vaginas and their asses on these apps, acting the most disparaging ways because it will pay. And they know this because they did the good things like I'm doing and nobody paid attention. What a dumb me. Constantly unable to secure any kind of economic future. And every time I have a plan and I try and I put some money into something, guess who's going to run off with the money? One of my own, who's going to twist me up and trick me up and go around me, right? And disrespect me in the end. Hallelujah. One of my own. Guess who, without being provoked, is going to speak ill against me because I'm trying, because this happens all the time. That bad malevolence we have amongst ourselves as so-called black people. You go amongst them and one day they just feel to just curse you out for no reason and tell you all the strings that hold you up and tell you everything that's wrong with you, the malevolence inside of them, the malthesium inside of them. Right? I'm making up these words, yeah, but the malevolence is true. But the malthesium is a nice word. We used to talk about maleficence in a vibratory sense. It's like a cartoon term, but some of you understand what the maleficence is, right? And it is everywhere. They just come at you, attack you. Yeah, we live in a certain community, and all of us off grid. All of us have a throw-up light system, and the same people that have throw-up light chop off the connection and just mash up everything. But their one must still be up, right? You're planting a farm, they raid your farm. They steal the animals if you're doing raising animals, right? They rob your car. They'll steal your car. They'll steal the content. They'll scam you. Hey, I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Africa. I'm my brother, my sister. You're my friend. They scam you. They scam you from the Caribbean. They scam you from anywhere. All of this malevolence amongst us, distrust. And when you go on social media and TikTok and scream about it and shout about it and talk about wicked or owners, we'll go viral. And we can go viral for nonsense, risking our lives, putting others of our people at risk. But make we try to do that with one of the privileged class and see what happens to our asses. Right? We know. So a lot of us know, whether we admit it or not to acknowledge the elephant, hallelujah, in the room. Because we can't test the white man. We go and kill our own, right? But we never unite with our own. We never be harmonious in our own. We pop style on our own, right? And guess what? I'm happy to do these videos because I'm actually a victim of white supremacy, hallelujah, and its subsequent suppression. And it has done a job on me, all right? And I'm telling the truth. I've been fighting all throughout, hallelujah. I'm no closer to victory than I was when I started. And I can tell you that. And I know no one cares. But why I do this? Because I've always believed that somewhere out there, there's another soul like myself who just wants that encouragement, hallelujah. And they have more means than I have that they can actually affect something. And if that something is only that they take their kids out of white tutelage and be able to generate a consciousness around the Aboriginal so-called black woman to let her truly understand we are not her enemy and money is not the God, then I'm happy to give this word. Very happy. And for those who can see this elephant in the room and nobody's listening to you, well, here I am. And go and check out, I know you probably would have been familiar with Dr. Chris Wilsing and Dr. Neil Fuller. Go and check out their work. And basically, Chris Wilsing speaks about the fact of the genetic annihilation, that they basically, all their games, you know, and basically even the games that we play is around dominating the black man's balls, because his penis and his balls, where the testes are the threat to white supremacy, hallelujah, and the white genetic, the fear of white genetic annihilation. So the recessive genes are overpowered by our genes, which is melanocyte, melanin dominant. So you can talk about philosophy and white Jesus and white God and one bag of thing where the preacher them love to promote, right? But see it here, genetic dominance, and this is the energy. So again, counter courts of racism, self-love, and you gotta speak constructively to your black brothers, so-called, and sisters. You have to be educated and informed in actual ways that can benefit your people, right? You have to. That is very important because we don't have enough of that. We have so much negativity spoken around us, and children with promise in our communities are a target for molesters, rapists, and all manner of people, for being trafficked. And so they don't want the down or corrupt one, the ones that are low in education, and the ones that are being abused. They want the ones that are being grown with love, with promise and belief. That's why they take your kids. That's why they want to kidnap your kids. That's why your neighbor wants to rape your child. That's why, because it's the promise in them. And they teach us to hate. So any light that comes around, they want to dim it and destroy it, boy or girl, right? And so we have to start looking at these things and looking at the elephant in the room and acknowledge its damage in our communities and start the process of self-love. And then maybe we can start speak to each other respectfully, and actually start something that might last and outlast this white supremacist system. Well, until next time, this has been Reasoning Right at the Tree of Life. I'm your host, your presenter, Talaku the Great House, speaking about white supremacy, the elephant in the room. Everyone sees, very few speak about. And when you dare to speak about it, death, destruction, poverty, suffering, all them lost in the corner, and them can't find you. All them buy out, manipulate you, sodomize you, and record it, right? And quiet your ass down and shut you up so that the white generations can remain powerful for another lifetime. Wise up, my people. Rise up, my people. Remember, you're a gift to yourself, to your community. So please be that gift in divine love, in divine law. Blessings.